In this video, I'm going to show you a selection of great lenses that can cover almost any photo or video need. And the best part? Most of them you can get used for just $100 to $200 each. Let's get into it. All the samples in this overview were shot on a Micro Four Thirds camera because the system lets you use not only native lenses but also APS-C and full-frame lenses. For this review, I paired them with a Speedbooster, which reduces the crop factor and gives them an extra stop of light. Let's start off with full-frame prime lenses made by Samyang. You can also find them under the brand names Vivita, Boa, Rokinon or Valimax. These are marketed as Cine lenses because they feature a clickless aperture and gearings for focus and aperture. The lenses are fully manual and have no electronics. Certainly a reason why they are so inexpensive. Still, build quality is great, the rings are turning very smoothly and they are also very fast. This one is a Samyang 16mm T2.2 and with a Speedbooster on Micro Four Thirds, it's equivalent to 23mm on full frame. Wide open, there is a glow with a magenta color shift and some pronounced vignetting. Stop down by one stop, the image quality gets much better and is already usable. Stop down by two stops, there is some improvement again. Vignetting is gone, sharpness is great. The bokeh is very pleasant and smooth. Next, we have the Samyang 24mm T1.5, which is pretty fast but wide open. There is a heavy magenta glow and it's hardly usable. Stop down by one stop, it improves a lot, but some glow is still there. Maybe usable in some cases, but not great yet. Stop down again, it starts to perform well. Like the 16mm, the bokeh of the 24mm is very smooth. Nothing to complain about here. My favorite Samyang is the 35mm T1.5. Paired with the Speedbooster on Micro Four Thirds, it gives you an all-around 50mm full-frame equivalent. The lens is also very fast and wide open. There is also a magenta glow, but it performs a bit better than the 24mm here. Already usable for certain kinds of portraits, for example. Stop down, it becomes usable in general, and stop down further, there is nothing to worry about anymore. Just like the wider Samyangs, the 35mm also offers a very nice and silky bokeh. What I like most about the Samyangs is their build quality, their smooth focus rings, which make them great for focus pulling, and they are just very fast. T1.5 with a Speedbooster will result in an astounding T1.1 in terms of light transmission. Even if you need to stop them down a bit to get generally usable results, they are still fast. The heavy glow wide open can sometimes be used to add a particular mood to the image, and I enjoy playing around with it. The lens's biggest advantage for me is their really pleasant and creamy bokeh. I like using them for narrative or creative work. So with these three affordable lenses alone, you are already well equipped for some filmmaking, I would say. After 16, 24 and 35mm, let's go on with a 50mm lens, which really surprised me. The vintage Asahi SMC Takumar 50mm f1.4 with an M42 screw mount. There are many versions of this lens out there. It's also a full-frame lens, but it's much smaller than the Samyangs. And with f1.4, it's also very fast. It's fully manual and has a clicked aperture ring by default. The focus ring turns very smoothly. Wide open, there is a magenta color shift and a little bit of glow, but it gets much better and usable stopped down by 1 or 2 stops. The bokeh is acceptable, though not quite as smooth as the Samyangs. Still, if you need a longer focal length than 35mm, the Takumar 50 works well as a standalone lens or as a complement to the Samyangs. If you prefer consistency in your lens lineup, there is also an affordable Samyang 50mm T1.5 available. By now, we talked about 4 manual lenses that are very fast, offer a nice image and cover a focal range of 16 to 50mm. What about situations though, where you simply won't have time to change lenses, need a lighter setup, or manual focusing would take too long? And this is where this underrated lens comes into play. The Sigma 17 to 50 f2.8 zoom lens. What makes this APS-C lens good for video is its constant maximum aperture of 2.8 across its zoom range. And with a Speedbooster, you end up with 2.0 in terms of light transmission, so it's really not bad. The autofocus will help you focus quickly, and the bokeh is quite okay too. The focus ring is smooth enough to focus manually if you prefer. The zoom ring feels a bit stiff, but that's nothing to worry about if you are not trying zoom pulls. At 17mm, the Sigma zoom already delivers usable results wide open. When stopped down, the image quality improves further, especially in the corners, with reduced vignetting. The same goes for 30mm, but vignetting is no big issue here, even wide open. At 50mm, the image is a bit softer wide open, but when stopped down, it becomes perfectly fine. A pleasant surprise is the bokeh. It doesn't quite reach the smoothness of the Samyang lenses, but there is nothing to complain about. The lenses we have discussed so far are all great for creative work. They each have a certain character or, depending on how you see it, imperfections. But sometimes you might need a lens that is simply clean, sharp and neutral for documentary work, architecture and so on. One lens that meets these requirements is the Leica DG Vario Elmarit 12 to 60mm f2.8 to f4. It's the first lens in this collection made for Micro Four Thirds, and it's also more expensive than the others at around $500 used. But If you're looking for a cheaper alternative to the Leica, check out the Lumix G Vario 12 to 60mm f3.5 to f5.6. It's a bit slower, but the image quality is almost on par with the Leica, and it costs around $150 used. Let's go on with the Leica. At 12mm, it's already quite sharp wide open. It gets even sharper stopped down and the vignetting disappears. The same goes for 30mm and 60mm. The Leica also shows virtually no magenta color shift when used wide open, unlike the lenses discussed before. The only downside for image quality, in my opinion, is that the bokeh isn't very pleasing. Otherwise, the lens is well built, focus and zoom rings run smoothly. What makes the Leica stand out is that it's quasi-parfocal. It's not officially marketed as parfocal, but some units are, while others are not. So if that feature matters to you, you might need a bit of luck. The next two affordable zoom lenses are worth a look because of their interesting focal lengths. One handles ultra-wide angles, while the other stretches far into the telephoto range. Ultra-wide angle shots are said to be difficult on Micro Four Thirds because of its 2x crop factor. For example, a 16mm lens on Micro Four Thirds will have a field of view equivalent to a 32mm lens on full frame. Still, with an affordable wide-angle lens like this and a 0.71 Speedbooster, you can get down to a full-frame equivalent of around 14mm. That's really impressive for an affordable Micro Four Thirds setup, and I was pleasantly surprised at how wide the field of view actually gets. We're talking about the Sigma 10 to 20mm f3.5 DC HSM here. It's an APS-C lens with a constant maximum aperture across its zoom range. There is also another version of this lens with an f4 to 5.6 aperture, which would make it a bit less convenient for video. The focus and zoom rings of this run smoothly, and it feels well built. So, how does it perform? At 10mm, there is noticeable barrel distortion, but even wide open, the lens is already quite sharp in the center. Vignetting is acceptable. Stopped down by one stop, most of the vignetting is gone, and sharpness across the frame is improved. Stop down further, sharpness improved again in the corners. At 15mm wide open, sharpness in the center is also good. When stopped down, the corners sharpen up too, but interestingly, there is a slight loss of contrast across the frame. At 20mm, the lens behaves similarly to how it does at 15mm. The loss of contrast when stopping down is still there, but less pronounced this time. The overall bokeh is surprisingly pleasant for a lens this wide. Sometimes you might need a wide angle, but other times a telephoto range to bring distant subjects close enough. My favorite recommendation here is the affordable Sigma 18 to 300mm f3.5 to 6.3. It's an APS-C lens from Sigma's contemporary line. It's not very fast, but it covers a huge focal range, which would also make it good for travel. Still, it is very compact, lightweight and well built, and reaches far into telephoto. Its maximum focal length of 300 mm paired with a Speedbooster on micro four thirds is equivalent to 426 mm on full frame. Using a simple adapter on micro four thirds, it's even equivalent to 600 mm on full frame. That's quite something. At 18 mm wide open, it's already very sharp in the center and has moderate vignetting. When stopped down, vignetting disappears and sharpness improves a bit in the corners. At 50 mm, the lens is also very sharp in the center with only slight vignetting. Both improve when stopped down. At 135 mm, the lens performs even better with negligible vignetting and satisfactory corner sharpness, even wide open. At 300 mm, surprise, the lens also performs very well, even wide open. I would say the Sigma 18-300 is, alongside the Leica, the sharpest lens in this overview. That's quite remarkable, especially at this price point and considering the huge focal range it covers. One thing I really dislike about this lens is the focus ring though. The autofocus works fine, but manual focusing is a pain and takes a lot of attention. It's not smooth at all, and you will often find yourself missing the right focus point and having to adjust back and forth. It's not impossible to nail focus manually with this lens, but it's definitely a challenge. The bokeh is better than expected. In the first part of this overview, we featured the Samyang 35mm T1.5. It's very suitable for low-light situations, especially when paired with a Speedbooster, but we also have to admit that it's quite large, since it was designed for full frame. Wouldn't it be great to have the same low-light capability in a much smaller lens? This is where this lens shines. The Voigtlander Nokton 25mm f.95. It's made for micro four thirds, much smaller, and delivers the same low-light performance as the Samyang with a Speedbooster. It feels very high quality, but unfortunately you would have to pay $300 to $400 for a used one. Wide open, there is a magenta color shift and a little bit of glow, but it's not as significant as with the Samyangs. Interestingly, we also see a bit of barrel distortion, which only appears wide open. Stopping down by one stop eliminates the distortion and brings the sharpness to a perfectly usable level. While the outer corners are still quite soft. Stopping down further improves sharpness again, but the outer corners remain soft. Depending on your use case, this might not be a big deal though. The bokeh is somewhat distracting, but all in all, I think this is a great, compact solution for low-light shooting on micro four thirds. Now we have gone through all the lenses in this overview. So let's wrap things up and quickly list the main pros and cons. The Samyang lenses offer great bokeh and they are very fast when paired with a Speedbooster on micro four thirds, but they show a rather heavy magenta glow wide open. The Takumar 50 is also very fast with a Speedbooster and it's nicely compact, though the bokeh could be a bit smoother. Still, it's an impressive performer, especially for its age. The Sigma 17 to 50 is still fast with a Speedbooster and it features a constant maximum aperture. It's a pretty good all-round lens, just without a specific standout strength. The Leica 12 to 60 is very sharp, and with some luck you can get a copy that is quasi-parfocal, but the bokeh, which is always a matter of taste of course, is not very pleasing to me. The Sigma 10 to 20 gets very wide even on micro four thirds when paired with a Speedbooster. It also offers a constant maximum aperture, but distortion at the wide end is rather significant. The Sigma 18 to 300 covers a huge focal range, making it very versatile, and it stays impressively sharp across its range, but manual focusing is very difficult. The Nokton 25 is very fast and doesn't even need a Speedbooster to achieve that. It's also compact, but the bokeh is rather distracting. Still, I wouldn't want to miss it. Ultimately, every lens has its strengths and compromises. They are all pretty good in their own way, and I hope this overview has offered you some useful insights. What do you think about the lenses? Or are there any others you would recommend? Let me know in the comments. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.